So I'm very excited today to do this episode with you, sir. Welcome, Dr. Joy Desai, to So What's Next. We're going to talk about neurology first, the determinants of lifestyle today that we are leading, and how to optimize the lifestyle for a better future. To start off, can you explain to me and the people first that what do neurologists actually do?
with symptoms that are related to neurological changes in the body. So, the commonest reasons for patients to see neurologists are symptoms like recurring headaches, someone has a seizure. Then, common symptoms like memory impairment. The word which people discuss too often, Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah,
And I see a lot of people for progressive change in brain abilities. So these are the common symptoms for which one may see a neurologist,
and it's mostly related to the brain, functions of the brain,
and the
and
deviations from the normal.
yes,
Some
and
of them are
yeah,
completely reversible.
and you treat the impairments of the brain, right?
Yes.
So can you tell me about brain health to start off with?
So as a neurologist, I think the way to look at brain health is that our when we talk about brain health, when a child is born, the in an evolving manner, the brain undergoes changes till adolescence and through adolescence into adulthood. And the earlier notion that brain development is complete and then no changes occur perhaps is misplaced.
That's a myth.
That it's a misplaced notion.
Yeah,
May not be a. I mean, I wouldn't call it a myth, but that was the understanding. Now
but
the understanding has changed.
but the brain keeps evolving,
Yes. So
right,
the
as we
brain
grow
keeps
older.
evolving on a daily basis.
Exactly.
And if you really want to distill it into simplistics, then it's those things that we do every day that determines brain health. How
Okay.
we eat, how we drink, how we move, how we think, how we breathe, and how we sleep.
I know there are a lot of factors that determine brain health, but not a
And
lot of people pay attention to that. So can you tell me about the lifestyle determinants that affect
yes,
your brain health in
so
the long run?
why would this matter?
Yeah.
The reason it would matter is that on a very basic understanding, one would think that when we are staying awake in and doing things like what we are having this conversation today, uh, in the whole process of doing activities in the day, the brain is undergoing dramatic change, and brain cells are doing work. New networks are being formed. Memories are being created of experience, and the brain uses nutrition. And in other words, the during the day when we are doing work, the brain loses some of its abilities.
Yeah.
Okay, if we are very stressed, then it does this very fast because all our stress responses are fight or flight,
Right.
and
Right.
we do things at a at a frenetic pace in a
Hmm.
much faster manner. So
Hmm.
this utilization again become greater. So that's what I meant by how we think. If we eat a lot of food, for example, then that food becomes a load for the body to metabolize, and again it changes the balance between the brain and the gut.
Even when you have a lot of sugar as well, it
Yes.
stops
So that may again create an environment where brain activity is remarkably
diminishing.
enhanced,
Yeah.
enhanced
Oh,
because of the sugar load,
right.
right? So you may have heard of the sugar
Sugar
rush
rush.
in children,
Yeah.
but over a period of time, if this rush happens too often, then a lot of the brain's abilities are being utilized for metabolizing that product
Right.
rather than for other brain related activities.
Which means that in your day-to-day work, let's say because of your lifestyle habits, you're consuming a lot of sugar or processed foods, for example.
It may certainly not be good for you.
Yeah, because and that's said because instead of focusing on activities related to your work or other things, your brain will start focusing on metabolizing your diet and everything, whatever you're
It's a
consuming.
kind of simplistic thing, but at its core, it may not be wrong.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
may not be wrong. The other thing is that movement, for example. So if we are sedentary, you must all have heard of the new notion that sitting is the new smoking, right? So
Yeah.
where does that come from? So the thing to understand is that the human body and as we evolved from animals is still meant for locomotion,
Okay. Yeah.
and there are a large number of benefits of physical activity. These benefits are not necessarily cardiovascular, but the benefits are cerebral too. So when we exercise both cardiovascular and say weight training and say core exercises, then many biochemical changes occur in the brain.
Like,
The part of the brain networks that are responsible for memory, there's a region called the temporal lobe, that gets bigger. The
okay,
brain produces a positive chemical environment in the brain. One of them is something called brain derived neurotrophic factor. If you look at this long term brain derived neurotrophic factor, what it means is that it comes from the brain and it helps to make the brain better. Neurotrophic means brain better, right?
okay.
So
It
brain is
also gives
better.
you a dopamine rush now. Like, I
Sorry?
work out a lot, so it gives me a dopamine rush when I'm
Yes, so
feeling
dopamine is a
positive.
messenger,
Right.
but when we talk about BDNF,
Yeah.
BDNF does actually enhances some of the capabilities of brain networks in the regional brain parts.
So that helps in increasing your memory.
So very simply, people who exercise have better functioning brains. So I think the key take home for any person should be that your brain likes the gym. The
Yeah.
brain wants to
Yeah.
do exercise, because when you exercise, you not only you feel good,
You're more
but
productive.
your cognitive abilities also improve.
Okay.
If you took a whole bunch of people who are relatively sedentary and you compared them with a whole bunch of equally age matched people who
Hmm.
are physically active and they are investing in activity at least 45 minutes to an hour every day,
Yeah.
then there is a greater likelihood that the active people will be cognitively more productive. So their abilities to use their brain will be better than the people who are sedentary.
So interestingly, I also read that people who exercise regularly, their brains also don't age fast compared to the people that don't exercise.
Yeah, I mean, aging and its
Yeah.
biology is a talk by itself.
So you also mentioned sleep, and I
Yes.
think that is a very underrated topic in itself, because I know a lot of people, including myself, where we sleep at in the morning, wake up in the afternoon, and we don't get any sunlight, whatever, which is, I think, bad for the brain, for your body as well. So how is that affecting the in a long term way? Or how is that affecting brain health in a long term way?
Oh, it's going to affect brain health in possibly every manner.
Can you give me an example?
Let me qualify that. So if you
Yeah.
bear with me for about 10
Yeah.
minutes,
Yeah.
let me put it into a kind of precise capsule.
Yeah.
So nature has conserved sleep through evolution
Yeah.
for a specific purpose. And for a long time, we did not know what this purpose was. In the 1950s, we didn't know. So sleep researchers were trying to find out why do humans sleep and why do organisms sleep. Now we know that sleep is conserved for a very large reason. So sleep is vital for memory consolidation. So that's the
Yeah.
first thing to understand.
Yeah.
That all our experiences, for example, what we are doing today, if you were not to sleep tonight, it is likely that some of the snippets of what we have discussed will be forgotten, because our memory consolidation occurs at night. So all
Yeah.
the information that is transferred in a experiential transaction, like now, gets
Stored in
stored in a small brain region here called the hippocampus, and it's temporary storage. It's like a pen drive.
Okay.
And when we sleep at night, and we sleep well at night, and we'll come
Yeah.
to that,
Yeah.
from this pen drive in the hippocampus, it's transferred to the bigger brain, and it required sleep for that. So, one major purpose of sleep is memory consolidation. The second major purpose of sleep is emotional stability. So, our
Okay.
ability to traverse the different experiences across life, which some of them are happy, some of them are not happy and traumatizing. It requires emotional balance,
Right.
and that
Right.
emotional balance is strengthened when we are sleeping. Then sleep improves our immune system.
Yeah.
Sleep keeps our blood pressure under control,
Agreed.
believe it or not.
I know. I know.
Sleep keeps our heart rates under control.
Yeah.
Sleep keeps our blood sugars under control. If we don't sleep well, we can age faster and look older.
Older. Yeah.
So our skin turgor and our ability to look radiant and healthy,
Yeah.
it needs good sleep. So sleep is important for looking good.
Yeah.
Sleep is vital for the immune system. So when we are sleeping at night, our immune system, which consists of very complex biological phenomenon, there is a bunch of cells called natural killer cells. They get replenished every night when we are sleeping.
Okay.
And most importantly, our brain gets cleaned when we sleep at night.
Yeah.
Okay, so just like you have a maid who comes into the house,
Yeah.
and this maid cleans the home and keeps it free of dust.
That's
Or
when the morning when you wake up, you're feeling very fresh and
That's
productive.
absolutely. So you are at your best when you wake up in the morning if you have slept well. Now, what is sleeping well?
Yeah.
So the important thing to know is that there are four tenets to this sleeping well phenomenon. It's the duration of sleep, the quality of sleep, the consistency of sleep across days together, and the timing of sleep. Four things:
Okay.
quality, duration, consistency, timing.
Duration should be optimized like 8
Let
hours.
me let me explain that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So our brains are wired by nature to sleep 4 hours from sunset and to wake up with the sunrise.
Yeah.
So if we were not in this civilized world, and if you were living in, say, a forest in
Yeah.
the
Rural area or
interior of
something.
the country, then with the loss of ambient light when the sun sets, it sets into motion. The retina of the eye senses the fact that
It's dark.
light has faded, and they give a signal from the retina to a small part of the inner brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and it starts secreting a hormone called melatonin.
Yeah.
And melatonin starts, and gradually it starts peaking, and it peaks by about 12 or 1 at night, puts us to sleep at about 10:30. So 4 hours from sunset the brain wants to sleep, and it wants to wake up with the sunrise. When we wake up, the melatonin levels are already at their lowest, and it's already gone from the body. So melatonin is the brain's maid that prepares the bed for sleep.
Okay.
And one of the other chemicals that builds up that gives us a pressure to sleep is something called adenosine. So when we work and we do things like we are chatting and studying or doing things during the day, exercising, the brain cells are making adenosine, and adenosine piles up in the brain over time. When there is a critical amount of adenosine in the main sleep areas of the brain, you get a pressure to sleep. Now, if you have coffee, coffee is an antagonist of adenosine receptors.
Yeah.
So coffee blocks those receptors, and though you're yawning and you want to sleep, you have a
You have a
large
cup
cup
of
of
coffee.
coffee. It makes that sleep sensation gradually abate, and then you stay awake and work. It's not healthy. It's certainly keeping awake is not healthy because the all the restoration that I told you is happening at night. So sleep is vital for bodily restoration. It's vital for brain restoration. So we have to respect that and follow that timing. And why that timing is relevant is because every tissue has a clock.
Yeah.
And that's a concept that everyone should understand, that all our tissues have a clock. It's a biological clock, not a physical thing. And this clock is wired to again synchronize with the brain signals. The master clock is in the brain, and the brain signals and the tissue signals, they synchronize. So if the body is to work well, then it does different things in the day and it does restoration at night.
At
And if this balance is maintained by sleeping on time, then the body stays good. And for that, it needs consistency,
Yeah.
right? So we
Yeah.
have to invest in sleep.
Right.
So you and I have to consider that sleep is an investment. Just like you do SIP to keep money that's useful when you're an older person, you must do sleep SIP every day.
So, because of the lifestyle habits that you mentioned, we are not able to sleep. We sleep at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., or latest by 2 a.m. I mean, earliest. Sorry.
Right.
We are not able to sleep before that. A lot of young people.
Yeah.
Why is that happening?
Let me qualify that. So, very good question. It's a important thing to understand. So, the wiring of the brain is something that nature has endowed us with, right? So, this endowment is modulable by how we live our lives. So, Joy Desai decides that today I'm going to a party, so I'm going to sleep at. He feels sleepy, but he sleeps at 1 o'clock
Yeah.
because he's gone out, come back. Tomorrow he has a submission to do for work and he has a PowerPoint to make, so he works till 3 o'clock. Day after tomorrow, he decides he's gonna sleep. I'm so tired. I want to sleep at 9:30.
Yeah.
So when you give these confusing, inconsistent signals, then the brain centers that do things by themselves, they work on feedback loops, and these feedback loops get disrupted because they don't know what Joy Desai is going to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it stops making melatonin.
Okay.
And when it stops making melatonin, you're not going to feel sleepy at night. Joy Desai is going to then say that I go to bed, but I'm unable to garner my ability to sleep. So, very simply, the nature reserve of sleep that's been given to us is modulable by our habits. So, if our habits are consistent, then these systems work seamlessly because they're working on their own without voluntary control. So, the old adage, early to bed and early to
Only to the-
rise, makes Jack healthy, wealthy, and wise, is because it stems from that experiential wisdom that people who have invest in sleep health function better.
So you know about the lifestyle that I mentioned previously. We basically tend to use a lot of our phones before we go to sleep and
Yes,
wake up and use our phones the first thing in the morning as well.
right,
So because of those lifestyles, are not able to sleep. Now, in order to sleep, a lot of people start using drugs as well.
right.
They consume weed, something like that, to go to sleep as well. And I know people like that. So how is that also harmful over a long period of
It is
time?
harmful over a period of time because when you take a chemical again, a
Yeah.
chemical is an extraneous method of developing something to biological, which is biologically driven, to do that task at an inappropriate time, right? And therefore, the physiological ability over a period of time can wane. So, using a medication or a drug to induce sleep is not a healthy practice. What we as sleep specialists recommend to people is that if someone has a sleep disorder where you are not able to sleep, go and talk to a person or a doctor or a neurologist who knows about sleep, who can walk you through the natural ways in which you can invest in sleep hygiene. So, people who don't sleep well because they've lost their ability to sleep normally from a variety of reasons, from habit, from lifestyle, and other reasons, can invest in something called sleep hygiene.
Yeah.
And there are a few sleep hygiene measures.
Yeah.
So I'll qualify that a little bit if you'll allow me. I told you that the timing of sleep is finely tuned to how the body clocks behave. So one of the biggest timekeepers, the biggest timekeeper is morning light exposure. So our sunlight. So when we wake up in the morning, we have in our Indian culture this Surya Namaskar.
Yeah.
What is that Surya Namaskar? It's the ability to, it's the understanding that in the morning when you wake up and you expose your body and eyes to the sun, then that first light is the timekeeper and it synchronizes your body clocks. That's why you want to do Surya Namaskar, right? It has some
Okay.
reason.
Yeah.
And it's the timekeeper which is setting the time that Joy Desai, your day has begun. So the tissues are now all wired to do what it's supposed to do in the daytime,
Hmm.
right?
So a lot of people basically eat at 2 a.m. at
Right.
night.
So
They're hungry
that's
at night.
harmful.
Yeah.
It's been shown biologically to be a contributor to all those things that we worry about in modern times. We worry about high blood pressure, we worry about diabetes, we worry about obesity, and there are numerous contributors, and one of the contributors to that is also this.
So you also mentioned about modern habits that we are living as young and old people right now. So not in terms of sleep, but how are modern habits today affecting our overall brain health and lifestyle in general for the future?
Yes, in many ways.
What have you observed?
Yeah. So there are many tenets to this. I may not be able to talk about all of them, but there are a few I think which we need to
that comes to
realize.
your mind. Yeah.
Um, so what has happened today in a tech-driven time is that we have created devices which were meant to be useful.
Yeah.
For example, your cell phone. So I
Yeah.
remember seeing Bill Gates in 1994 when he came to London at Earl's Court,
Yeah.
and in those days our phones were this big.
Yeah.
And he had said at that time, in his perspicacity, he had said that there will be a time when you will have a phone that will fit into your pocket,
Yeah.
and that phone will open your garage and switch on your AC, and the time has come. But we didn't realize what this phone is also actually doing. We have now created an environment where we are all socially connected, and unfortunately, there is a ping every time somebody posts something on Instagram or
Yeah.
WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Now, when that happens, it assumes naturally that you are going to look at it. So for a lot of people, there has been an inordinate time spent in taking their attention away from the work at hand to looking at their phone. When we started this conversation, I switched off my phone.
Yeah.
And the reason I switched off my phone is because I didn't want it to take my
Anyone to
attention
disturb.
away.
Yeah.
So it can tell you that this modern lifestyle with the devices that we have is certainly making people develop shorter attention spans. And that may not be good for cognitive health.
Yeah.
When
How bad is that actually?
certainly bad.
How? Like, can
So
you
if
tell
your
me that?
mind is flitting from moment to moment because you're doing something and then you're looking at your Instagram, doing something, looking, oh, what's that guy told me? And then you have to respond. So you have to give a thumbs
Yeah.
up, or you
Yeah.
have to do this if somebody's passed away. You are certainly all these emojis that we are putting has created an environment where, especially in groups, there is this notion of fear of missing out. So
FOMO.
there's Yashas who said something and Joy Desai didn't say that. What are they going to think of me?
Yeah.
God's sake, I got to put in a post. So you have one happy birthday and there are 150 happy birthdays,
Yeah.
same group. Now, what has it actually achieved? It's achieved a messaging glut which has taken you away from the work at hand that you are doing. So I'm not so sure that our utilization of technology is necessarily making us more
Smarter.
productive
Yeah.
or healthy.
So attention spans are now down to 4 seconds in a human. Basically, your ability to focus is
So
diminishing
that's
every year.
one. The other most important thing, which we are not realizing, is that if we continue to use our cell phones and our devices at night, the blue light that comes from the device
Yeah. Blu-ray.
is an impediment to sleep harmony and efficiency. We don't have enough scientific understanding today, but there is emerging evidence to tell us that it's making our sleep shallower, not deep enough to give its restorative benefits. And if you are to sleep well and be healthy, then it could interfere. So I strongly recommend to my patients that if they want to sleep well, one of the things they ought to do is to detox their phone and switch it off at 9:30,
Okay.
1 hour before bedtime. You can listen to music, read a book, smell the flowers if you like, have some fragrance in the room, keep the ambient temperature of the room comfortable. Then you're likely to sleep. So to say that I don't sleep because I have a problem and give me a drug to fix that may not be a right thing, because that drug should be the last resort.
Yeah.
The first resort should be habitual change, and that habitual change can come from a conversation which is meaningful with your doctor, and that meaningful conversation is what we have now labeled as cognitive behavioral therapy. And what
Yeah.
is cognitive behavioral therapy?
Yeah. I was going to ask you that.
It's sitting across the desk and understanding this is sleep physiology. This is what you are doing in your day-to-day life that could be making it non-rhythmic. This is what you could do to make it rhythmic. And this is how, if you are patient, you can use your own resources to be able to sleep better rather than take recourse to a drug on which you are going to become dependent.
Okay. So people should basically listen to this and understand that over the long-term course of their
Yeah.
life, because in your 20s you have a lot of energy, so you kind of ignore all this and live any way you want to.
So let me come in here for a minute. So now that you mentioned 20s, what people who are 20s and 30s and 40s should understand is that when we talked about those four things about sleep: quality, quantity, consistency, duration, timing, right? So many people think that I will sleep at 2 and I will wake up at 10 and I've got my 8 hours.
Yeah.
Now, we are not biologically wired to sleep at 2.
Yeah.
So when you sleep at 2 and wake up at 10, your clocks have got conflicted. So is that harmful to your body? The answer is yes. We now have a good body of literature to suggest that people who don't sleep in time with their diurnal cycle, which means in with circadian rhythmicity. So this word circadian comes from circa, which means around, and dn, which means day in Latin. So it's around the day. So if we sleep in sync with the day and night, 4 hours from sunset and wake with sunrise, then our clocks are working well. If you're doing this late night but 8 hours, the risks are the same. It puts one, as you grow older, at risk of blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, depression, and potentially in older people, degenerative brain disease like memory loss, Alzheimer risk. Now, if we are talking about this, one must understand that the brewing time for all this biologies, right? So, I explained to you about the maid that
Yeah.
cleans, the biological maid that cleans the
Yeah. Yeah.
brain. Now, if you don't sleep well on one night, the cleaning mishap with the little bit of stuff left behind is microscopic. But if that happens over 10 years, it's become much larger in quantity. And that's when there is a greater risk that the brain will start to fail. So, which means that the cooking time with bad sleep habits, the cooking time to make your brain sick is about 10 years. So when you are young, you think, "अरे मुझे तो कुछ नहीं होता है doc." All my patients tell me, "अरे doc, I've been sleeping like this for last 5 years and I'm good. I go to the gym, I work out, I'm great." Not be so great 5 years down the line, because the longer you pursue this mistimed sleep habit for a period of time, it is likely to derail your
The,
biology, and that
it's
derailment will occur after 10 years,
it's a
15
cause
years.
for brain impairment in the future. Okay. Last, you mentioned there's a certain cleaning that's happening in your
Yes.
brain. That's why you're
The
fresh the
chemical
next morning.
cleaning of the
Yeah.
brain.
So now also your memory is also stored during that time, and it's reciprocated or
Yes.
processed.
Consolidated, yes.
Consolidated is the right word, correct? Does that lead to dreams that humans have? Whatever memory have you had during the day or during the week, let's say, does that seep into your brain, and is that why during sleep you have dreams come to your head?
So when we sleep at night for 8 hours, this 8 hours is broken into 5 or 6 packets of repetitive physiologies.
Yeah.
Each packet is called a hypnogram.
Okay.
The first part of it is called non-REM, and that non-REM has 1, 2, and 3 stages, where we slowly the brain goes into deeper sleep, and then it is followed by a phase called REM. REM stands for rapid eye movement.
Okay.
It's from the R from rapid, I, E, and M from the movement. So in that phase of REM sleep, which is a short segment, so of total sleep, the REM sleep constitutes about 10 to 15% in most people. It's a
Okay.
little larger in younger people and during adolescence. So in this REM sleep, our eyes move rapidly, our breathing occurs, but the rest of the body is completely silent.
Yeah.
And in that REM phase, we are actually dreaming. So there is a group of researchers who have been working on this for a very long time. And very essentially, if you think, why do we dream? We dream because it's shuffling all our experiential memories. So they're all random. Some
Yeah.
of them are happy, some of them are sad.
Yeah.
And what those experiential memories are being shuffled in REM sleep, so that there is an order and coherence in our memories. So REM is also important for memories. REM is important for creativity, and REM is important for emotional balance.
Is that the subconscious mind that we speak about, or is that like unrelated?
It's may not. I don't think it's related, but let me give you 2 examples that we know from history.
Yeah.
So Thomas Alva Edison, when he was trying to make the light bulb, he had made experiments 100 times and he had failed.
Yeah.
And one night he woke up from a dream and he got the idea, let me use tungsten.
Yeah.
And that's how the light bulb actually happened. So it is said that Salvador Dali, when he woke up to surrealistic representation of graphic forms, it happened when he woke up from a lucid dream.
What is lucid dreaming?
So dreaming occurs in REM sleep, and
Yeah.
it's a biological phenomenon where memories are being shuffled.
Yeah.
And in some people, because this is a regional manner in which dreaming occurs, in some people there is a partial preservation of consciousness.
Yeah.
So because there's a partial preservation, because in at that dreaming time there is a little input from a part of the brain, and it's being studied very vigorously now. Because there is partial consciousness, there is a perception that you can direct your dream. Okay. And we don't know enough about lucid dreaming research today to understand why some people have that experience and the ability and others don't. What are the mechanistic processes that drive this? We don't understand everything about it, but it's being studied very vigorously, and I'm sure that in time we will know better what makes some people differently endowed and with the capability of lucid dreaming, and others, mortals like me, who don't do lucid dreaming and have normal dreaming.
Right. Okay. I think that's all the answers that I want today. I'm really happy that you're here because it was a very insightful conversation. Plus, I think the people will learn something more about sleep and instead of taking it for granted, at least they know something now. So thank you for being on the show, sir.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
My pleasure to be here.